It's not unethical, it's how we've always done things. This excuse, or rationalization, as some may define it, is what we consider to be one of the main obstacles to ethical business practices within organizations today. How can you change an unethical behavior that is deeply ingrained in a company culture? Or convince employees that the way they've been operating for years is no longer a valid nor ethically acceptable way of doing business? And what is business ethics exactly? For us, business ethics involves transparency of operations and financial reports, adopting sustainable practices, and developing a culture of trust and moral guidance within an organization. A business issue that has received much media coverage is the fraud and corruption in the construction industry. The Charbonneau Commission that is currently investigating the matter in Quebec has shed light on an ethical dilemma that extends far beyond the construction industry. The ethical and political implications of the corruption that exists within the contracting sector has raised some serious ethical questions for us. It seems that the contracting industry has adopted, almost as a whole, a culture of bribery and corruption, leading people to believe that this is the way to do business within this sector and justifying it as an acceptable business method. This type of corruption does not only exist in Quebec, it is a problem that many governments are facing worldwide and that is slowly being brought to light. As this intricate ethical dilemma is receiving an increasing amount of media coverage, contracting companies find themselves at an ethical crossroads. Do they continue business as usual? Or do they change their ways for more ethical and transparent business methods? Although the second option is the obvious favorite from a business ethics point of view, it is much easier said than done. This is where our two questions from the beginning come into play. How can you change an unethical behavior that is deeply ingrained in a company culture? Or convince employees that the way they have been operating for years is no longer a valid nor ethically acceptable way of doing business? How can we alter our employees' perception of what is ethical business practice and what is not when we have stood behind these actions previously and justified them as being acceptable? There are no clear-cut answers to these questions, nor any recipes that will lead to the development of a seemingly perfect ethical code of conduct. What we wish to address and draw attention to is the intricacy and delicacy of this matter. Changing a core business practice, whether it was an ethical practice or not, will require a considerable amount of time, effort, and money. It will also take a lot of convincing. Convincing your employees that they need to change their ways, convincing shareholders that this is for the best in the long run, and convincing the public that you're committed to changing for the better and that you're doing it for the right reasons, not just because you got caught. Ethical measures and standards are reshaping and redefining business methods, and we believe it is for the better. As we are the next generation to enter the workforce, we need to do our due diligence and be aware of business practices that are justified solely on the basis that it is the way business has always been carried out. As responsible citizens and consumers, we need to realize the influence that we can have upon a company's ethical orientation, but we also need to take action to help make this influence a concrete movement that will force organizations to develop their ethical leadership. It is important for companies to realize their ethical image is not only based on the ethical choices that they make, but also on the ones they don't.